What's up, guys? Zeus IDV here with another video. Quick reminder, if you do like what you're watching, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Now, it has been a bit since I again have recorded a video like this. For those of you keeping up with channel updates and everything, obviously you've seen that I've been living life. I made an announcement on my server about it. I have been feeling happy for the first time in a while, so kind of been enjoying it. Regardless, though, that does not give me an excuse to deprive you beautiful human beings who watch my content. That doesn't give me the permission to deprive you of content. Still gotta provide, still gotta feed. And I enjoy making content. I enjoy making people's days if my content does make your day. So thank you all for watching the videos and still staying sub to the channel and still supporting me as I keep on growing. It means a lot to me, really. It really does mean a lot, and I'm grateful for it. Now, with that being said, let's get into the topic of the video. Now, the topic of this video is, as you can tell by the title, about the newest survivor that came out, the little girl, or the lost girl for people who want to be technical about it because of the lore. Now, I'm just gonna start off by saying people are heavily underrating this character. I'm talking from both the survivor side and both the hunter side. People are heavily undermining this character, and the reason I say that is because people are not thinking about her at her max potential. People aren't talking about her and not using her in ways that could make her so much better and make her be utilized in a much more effective way. And I'm gonna get into some of those ways, right? Now, for context, if you want to see little girl gameplay, there's a video I uploaded about a week ago. I'll put the link in the description of the video or in a pinned comment or anything, and so that way then you guys can see for yourselves how little girl would work on a 4-man VC scenario where people are actually trying to win, and it's not like trolling, haha, meme comp. So with that being said, how is little girl so bustedly OP, like I think, and how I say, and how I've been preaching? Well, for starters, that 70% decode buff is massive. Now, a lot of people argue saying that, the 70% decode buff is not that big of a deal because, if you do like it's only 3 people decoding, it's not promoting Cypher Rush, only 3 people are decoding. My argument for that is, one, with the decode buff, it takes roughly around 40 to 45 seconds for the average survivor with her buff to decode a cipher. Now, remember, keep in mind that the average survivor with no decode debuff takes not 100, that's a rescuer, my fault. It takes 81 seconds to decode a full cipher for the average survivor with no decode buff or no decode debuff. It takes 81 seconds for a cipher to be popped. Now, again, keeping in mind that with the little girl buff that the survivor that's possessed gets, it takes only about 40 to 45 seconds. So if somebody can kite for literally more than 70 seconds, like not even more than 70 seconds, if you can just at bare minimum kite a 70-second kite, which is the expectation as a high tier survivor. Keep in mind that for videos like these, I'm keeping them in high tier perspective. I am not doing world view perspective because that involves bias, and I'm trying to do the most fair assumption of it. I'm talking about this in perspective of tourney, perspective of competitive gameplay and everything, not casual gameplay or like low tier elves. I'm putting this at the very best and in composition wise. So yeah, I'll get off that little tangent. She, with the buff, makes a survivor with no decode buff or no decode debuff decode a cipher in 40 to 45 seconds. One person does an average kite, just your regular like 60 to 70 second kite. There's only 2 people decoding, but one of those people have already popped the cipher and is already about what would be 50% or almost done with the second cipher. Now, assuming that the second person is a rescuer, their cipher would be around 70 to 80%, you know, like typical, as if only 3 people were decoding while 1 person was kiting. Like, do you see where I'm getting at? Do y'all see where I'm getting at here? Her decode buff is so massive that you don't need for somebody to do some extra, like some extra long-winded kite. For you to take full advantage of her buff, you literally just need to kite for the average amount of time, and the ciphers will still pop like usual. The rescuer cipher will still be at like 70 to 80%. 2 ciphers would have popped for the normal decoders, whether it be a decoder or a regular kiter, and everything will run smoothly. Like, there won't be any delay in the cipher rush. Just because 1 person is decoding, that doesn't just because 2 people are decoding doesn't instantly get rid of the fact that she's giving a 70% buff to the person that's decoding. And that doesn't even begin to take into account of whether she syncs onto a decoder. Take, for example, Mechanic, we all know that when nobody's injured, she can main body rush. She has that nice 45% decode buff when nobody's injured. The doll has a baseline of 25% decode buff, and that cannot be removed. Now, imagine if the little girl syncs on to a Mechanic and nobody is injured, right? But that's an unrealistic scenario, because 9 times out of 10, if there's a Mechanic on the team, there's no way somebody is not getting injured. Like, there's no way that's happening unless the hunter's just that bad or the survivors are just that good. You never know. So we're gonna make this realistic. 1 survivor's injured on first kite, usual. You take that first hit, so that way you can't do anything to avoid the hit, or you have to transition out of an area, yada yada yada, typical survivor shit, right? 1 person is injured. She instantly now has a 45% debuff to her decoding, which balances her out in her own way, because kinda can't do anything to begin with. You feel her, you know how that is. So yeah, but little girl is synced onto her, so that 45% debuff that she has doesn't mean anything, because the little girl, we do basic math here, -45 plus 70. The little girl, after math is done, is still giving her a 25% buff to her decoding, which is still fast, including the fact that she has a bot, which, assuming the hunter doesn't find bot, because I'd say like 70% of the time Mechanics know how to hide their bots well, so you're not gonna find bot first, or you're not gonna find bot at all until late game. That is 2 survivors decoding. I'm counting the bot as a survivor. That's 2 survivors decoding with a 25% buff, plus the rescuer who is decoding. And I'm going to always be assuming that the kiter is decoding, or the kiter is kiting, or the decoder is kiting. I'm never going to count the rescuer as a kiter, because let's be honest here, I don't know any hunter that would willingly chase a rescuer unless you're going up against like a 3 rescuer or a 4 rescuer set. So yes, that alone in itself is like, she's not promoting Cypher Rush, but is she really not promoting Cypher Rush? Because when you look at it in different comps, like, she definitely is. Like, I'm gonna say this in another aspect. Imagine a comp in like a round 1 comp. Imagine you're going up against a merc, a priestess or a seer, a little girl, and a mechanic. That is a amazing round 1 tie comp against like a sculptor for round 1 in a tournament. Like, that is an amazing round 1 tie comp. Like, you cannot tell me that comp is not set for a tie. Little girl early game can just TP to the mechanic after mech pulls her bot down or whatever. While she's rotating, if the mechanic gets caught, the little girl can support, because the little girl can give 15% increase in movement speed and interaction speed. And then she drops her pages to help support the kite, because her pages work like prospector magnets but better. So she makes mechanic a viable kiter. And oh, Zeus, but if the mechanic is kiting and she's not decoding, what's gonna happen? Well, what's gonna happen is, because remember, this is first kite, the kite will be long. So you're forced to either leave the only decoder on the team to chase an actual kiter or a rescuer, versus chasing the person with naked kiting at all, but has a character that's so insanely broken that she's buffing her kiting and as well giving her external traits to help her kiting. So it's like you as a hunter, you're left in a dilemma where you're like, oh, what in the hell can I do? Because you don't have a target at this point. You don't have a target to chase. So it really leaves you it leaves you as a hunter like, what can I do? Because you're either gonna get the absolute shit kited out of you until you get that mechanic down, and two other decoder, the one other kiter and the rescuer are just gonna pop their ciphers. While it'll be slow, it'll start eventually picking up pace because accelerated decoding exists, and the kiter doesn't have a decode debuff unless it's like, I don't know, a minor decode debuff, like 10% or something. You feel me? Like, all of this stuff, it's like all of this, it takes into consideration. Like, even against the sculptor, I can very much argue that if it's like an IVL or something, that comp, Merc, Sierra Priestess, Little Girl, and Mech, that is a very, very strong tie composition. And on 4-man VC, where you can coordinate when the little girl has to go to the survivor or when the little girl needs to teleport across the map, you know, like, it's all of these things that take into consideration make Little Girl so powerful. And that's why for me, Little Girl is an S tier character. She may be like a low S tier character, she may be like Seer or something, like on the same level as Seer because of her support, but she is an S tier character. And seeing people downplay her is gonna come back and bite you in the ass, especially for the hunters that are downplaying her, because you're viewing this from the point of like, oh, the survivors don't know what they're doing, not in the point where the survivors know what they're doing. So yeah, anyway guys, that's my opinion of Little Girl. I hope you all did enjoy the video, and I will be making a video on Orpheus, both sides. So yeah, that being said, I'm Zeus and I'm out. Love you all.